Tesla's actual sales in China have just been revealed for the month of March. Very interesting numbers for both China and sales outside of China. In China, Tesla sales grew by 107% versus the previous month, but that's probably not the most interesting thing about these sales figures. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to see you. CNF Post, they've just reported on Tesla's sales, I should say, in China. China saw a big increase in EV sales in March this year. Wasn't really primarily from Tesla though. Tesla sales were good, but they didn't increase over last year. It was pretty similar to last year. It was from the fact that we now have, there's so many manufacturers of EVs now in China. China's EV sales actually hit 41.6% of all vehicle sales in the month of March, 41.6%. There was a week where they were at 48%. That means they grew from 35% last year to just under 42% this year. And the actual delivery numbers have grown as well. Retail sales of new energy vehicles, which are 60% EVs and 40% plug-in hybrids, hit 710,000 in March, meaning they grew by 30% versus last year. So as you can see, the Chinese car market is electrifying at an incredibly rapid pace. In China, Tesla delivered 62,400 cars in March. It's a pretty good number. It's a 107% increase versus March of last year, but it is a little bit less than what Tesla sold in March of 2023. Now, to give you some context though, in February, Tesla delivered 30,000 vehicles in China, which, considering it's February, the Chinese New Year, people don't really buy cars in China in February. They actually really don't. That was not actually too bad of a number. Data from the CPCA in China indicated that Tesla actually sold around 90,000 cars, but that was worldwide. Now, we now know that 62,300 of those were sold in China. That means that approximately 26,666 were delivered outside of China to places like Australia, Thailand, Malaysia, etc. So this is a huge increase over February, but compared to March of last year, it's about a 10% decline from what Tesla actually sold that month worldwide. Still pretty good numbers though. And I'm talking about sales in China, by the way. A 10% decline on Tesla sales in China of March of last year. In March of last year, Tesla sold 76,000 EVs in China and exported a few thousand, not that many. Tesla China may have been spotted, according to Teslarati, exporting fleets of vehicles in March, but the company's 26,666 vehicles exported last month represented a 12% decrease from the 30,224 that were exported in February of 2024. It represents a 118% increase from the 12,206 vehicles that were exported from Giga Shanghai in March of 2023. So Tesla is exporting more vehicles. Its sales in China are about flat. They're about even versus the same 3 months. So January, February, March of last year, pretty even. The CPCA's data revealed that out of the 89,000 wholesale vehicles that were sold by Tesla in March of 2024, 57,586 of them were Tesla Model Ys and 31,500 were Tesla Model 3s. So Tesla now is having, well, they're really more keen to sell Model Ys. And the reason is because the Model 3, we're talking export sales here for Tesla's exports, the Model 3, when Tesla export that car to places like Europe, they do have to pay shipping costs. They now have to pay different fees, port fees in places like France. And then they don't get EV incentives, which cars made locally can qualify for. So Tesla makes less profit selling the Model 3 in places that are not, say, Thailand or Australia. Now, if Tesla ships the Model 3 to Thailand or Australia, or places where they're not having to pay these kinds of costs, because there's no local car market, essentially, no local car brands, then Tesla does make a pretty good profit on the sales of the Model 3. Now, my big takeaway here is this. Electric car sales are clearly growing significantly. I mean, Tesla had 8.8% of the country's NEV sector and 15% of its EV sales. So 15% of all electric cars sold in China in March were Teslas. But that, of course, that percentage is declining as is expected until Tesla have a more affordable car because, China is the market for affordable cars. A Model 2 would sell really, really well there. But Tesla's percentage is declining as we see more and more companies ramp up their EV sales. We see more competition, more models. Some legacy automakers actually finally start to take EV production relatively seriously. And we're going to see record sales in China this year of EVs. It's probably likely, based on BYD's CEO Wang Shanfu, he's predicted that by the end of this year, 50% of all car sales in China will be electric. Now, the Chinese car market is around 27 million cars a year. That would mean, we might see more than 13 million EVs sold in China this year. If that does happen, that would therefore dictate that of the global car market, seeing the global car market is only around 75 to 80 million cars, it's a good chance that we'll hit 20% EV percentage of sales worldwide this year. It's well past the tipping point. The tipping point is considered to be 5%. Now, speaking of the tipping point, there's actually more than 45 countries that have passed 5% EV adoption. So 45 countries have passed the tipping point for electric cars. From here on in, we're going to see kind of like a linear growth over the next probably year, and then we're going to see that exponential growth curve hit EVs. And a lot of manufacturers are actually saying this is going to happen. Even Audi themselves said 2026 is the year when electrification is going to go crazy and crush the sales of internal combustion. Thank you for watching.